Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world, episode 643. Thursday nights belong to the Trap, and we have one special episode for all you guys out there. If this is your first time tapping in, do me a favor, just get the likes up. Hit that like button right now. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Select all. You'll be reminded of every single podcast released out of the Trap Talk Reptile Network 7 days a week. But before we get into things, I just want to say thank you to all the support out there. Just to remind you guys, you can listen to all these episodes on all the major audio platforms, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to any of these episodes. Thank you so much. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Now, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to see some stuff that before anyone else does, then make sure you come join the Trap Talk Patreon family for all exclusive content. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, you get connected to a Discord. There's an amazing Instagram group chat, 24/7 popping. I have trappers from all over the world. So thank you again for all the love and support. I do want to say shout out to tonight's sponsor, Prague MORPH over in Europe. So do me a favor and head over to Devin and Teresa's Instagram account. And that's Prague Morphs on IG. And you can also check them out on YouTube as well. Cutting edge, front of the line ball python projects all the way from Prague. And these two are just killing it. So thank you so much, Devin and Teresa. You can find the link in the description below. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Clutch, the #1 ball python app in the game. You know, if you're looking to be cutting edge, if you're looking to be ahead of the others, I'll tell you right now, Clutch is the way to stay organized. It's the way, and it's a way to look good in this game for sure. So head over to Clutch on Instagram and also check out their website in the description below. I also highly recommend you try them out free for 30 days if you're not already using Clutch. Because one of the hottest topics in the hobby right now are people getting snakes from breeders, getting those snakes tested for said morph, and that test coming back not that said morph. Okay, a lot of back and forth that I've been seeing, and a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration, as I would be frustrated too if I paid for a certain morph and it got tested negative for that morph. So either way, I want to hear from two of the biggest names in the ball python game today, Villarino Reptiles on Instagram, and check them out on Morph Market. Of course, the one and only Justin Kabelka of Kinova Reptiles. So without further ado, guys, do me a favor. If you're out there watching right now, let's go. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. For episode 643, we have Trap Talk with Big E Top G, Villarino Reptiles, and Justin Kabelka from Kinova Reptiles. Let's go. Choo!
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it.
And we're live, episode 643, Trap Talk with Emilio, Villarino Reptiles, and Justin Kabelka, Kinova Reptiles. What's up, boys?
What's up?
How's it going?
What's up, guys?
Happy Thursday.
Justin, big dog, what's up?
Hey, easy with the friendship you guys have now, okay?
Happy
Like,
to see you
yeah.
again.
Can't
Dude,
be broken.
I feel like I really missed out, and you guys are like best buds now, and I'm just, MJ from California, and like, no, forget about it,
You're the third wheel now, yeah.
Dude, honestly, I'm glad I definitely lived through Emilio on that whole trip because he was sending me photos. It looked great. But before we get into things tonight, I want to hear from you, Justin, how'd the event go? We heard it from Emilio, but this is a party that you've thrown 2 years now for your Platinum Patreon members.
Yeah, second year for the Platinum, third, I think will be our third for the VIPs. It went really well. I was excited. It was I love the small group with I think both the open houses, but the small group with the Platinum people is a lot of fun. You get to know everybody a lot better and really get in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
And, honestly, we don't have a lot of visitors, and it's really special to just get people in there who are enthusiasts who can like just shoot the breeze about some cool stuff. I mean, a lot of people we actually give tours to are like my friends' kid school groups and stuff, and so they're like they don't know the difference between any of the cool snakes. So it's cool to get somebody who knows their stuff to start talking some real cool snake trivia and facts. Really fun.
Yeah, and obviously one of the things I was happy to hear after that weekend was Emilio's experience, because you want to talk about somebody who really loves ball pythons and someone who takes breeding ball pythons seriously, like on a livelihood level. This is Emilio, that's him. And so for Emilio, for you to walk through the gates, drive through the gates and walk through the doors of Justin's facility, I'm sure you'll never forget that moment, I'm sure.
The word I kept using for everyone that was texting me or calling me or people in the group is unreal.
Yeah.
That's really
I
cool.
mean, it's amazing, man. It's you call it Willy Wonka, right? The Willy Wonka chocolate ball python factory. I mean, I call Justin the Elon of the game, bro. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that. It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, Justin, for me, I'm just saying, like, it's really rewarding walking through a facility like yours, because you almost feel like there's no roof over your head. Like, sky's the limit where you want to take almost anything in life. Like, it's like, I guess what you've done with ball pythons, it's like a lot of other big people in this world have done with many other things, but we love the snakes and we're into the reptile game, and there's nothing like a Kinova facility for sure. It's and then I don't know. We could keep talking about it all night long, but it's amazing.
Let me say one more thing. Remember, I've been doing this 20 years,
right?
So I know the impact and the scope of building it. I guess building it from nothing, right? And the market from nothing, Kinova from nothing, right? So I feel like some of these guys that have been in 5 minutes, they don't know that. So to me, it was even more impactful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Mad props to you, bro. Amazing things. That's all I can say. Amazing things. Yeah.
It's it's not been a sacrifice. 20 years sounds like a long time. Like he's really been grinding for 20 years. Well, yeah, I have, but it's been a pleasure the whole time, to be honest with you. Not that there wasn't some hard moments, but every year was the excitement of seeing my dreams come true a little bit more, right? Yeah. And what's beautiful about this industry is that is still the case for me every year now. Like, it just doesn't end, and there's always something more to do. There's always that little bit of a gamble, the fun, the game of it, and the game doesn't die. It's amazing.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like the wins that you can get in this hobby will outweigh any kind of like failure or learning mistake that you made that you could possibly make. And mind you, when you're really focused in the way you two actually have been focused in, like, we're talking about one snake cell that could change the dynamic of everything. You know what I'm saying? But then when that starts to compile on top of each other and you just let things flow out the way they do, it's completely life-changing. And mind you, any obstacle you could take head on, in this game. If you're really in it in the right way, I got to say, you really have to obsess and you really have to love this whole ball python breeding thing. It's not something that you're halfway in, you're halfway out. Like, it's not going to work like that.
for sure.
Yeah. So, Justin, why don't you real quick before we get into shed testing and what's been going on that end of the things? I feel like I don't hear as much, but you also do see people still leaving the hobby. But where are you at with the growth in the ball python game? Are you seeing any kind of like stagnant type stuff happening? Are you seeing nothing but more new people coming in? Especially with your Patreon. I'm just curious where you see things headed right now, market growth wise.
Yeah, my perspective, I wouldn't try to prescribe what's happening for everybody, but from my point of view, all I can see is how things have been from my perspective. And lately it feels just really steady, really solid. This, so far for 2025, sales have been better. I feel like the price dropping has slowed at least, if not stopped to an extent. I think it's a symptom of people, slowing their roll a little bit on production, on the whole thing. And some people are getting, a little, I guess, disillusioned. New people are coming in, but it takes them a while to kind of get their feet under them too. Right. So we're kind of in this moment of transition. But I feel pretty good about the market right now. I do. I feel like production's down in general. Cool stuff's being made. The people who are in it right now are pretty really solidly in it. They really care. We don't have. I couldn't have said that in 2021. So I felt like everybody who was getting in was psyched about what they thought the industry was. People who are here now, for the most part, they're the real deal. They've been through it. They're at the worst of it, and if they're still loving it, if they're still working, that's the kind of group you want to be around.
It's a really good point. What would you have to say to all that, Emilio?
Well, yeah, I think there might be less new people coming in, let's say, right? But I feel like the people staying in are going to optimize and get their collection better. So I feel like, the ones that stay in, they're going to continue to try to make their collection better, replace certain, animals. And that's always going to be good for all of us,
And I think what I want for tonight, guys, is I want to create some sort of cliff notes for anyone out there who wants to come in here, work with really high-end stuff, and eventually have to display or post all the stuff they work with. And then when it comes to breeding their own stuff, that's when I feel like a lot of people start paying attention to what does this person know and what's this person what projects are all about. And one of the things I'm seeing, Justin, and obviously Amelia, we talked about this as well, is people who kind of get on the ball pretty quickly. They produce some really crazy high-end stuff, they don't mess around, but then they struggle on the IDing part. And it's not even something that's dude, oh man, God, I think, I don't know how many times I've asked you in the beginning, Justin. I learned to just leave you alone now, but I remember how many times I've asked you, what do you think's in this? And you're like, I don't know, man. You're like, dude, I don't. But it's you come in here and you're just all you could think about is does it have that? Does it not have that? But the thing is, we have the beautiful, revolutionary era of shed testing, right?
Came just in time, didn't it?
Thank God.
It did, right? It did. It did, but there's still moments of people. Here's the thing: shed testing is getting blamed for certain things, mainly okay, well, I got this tested through so and so, and that's the test results that I got. When the purchaser is getting it tested as well, and the test results aren't matching. You know what I'm saying? That's one of many things. And mind you, people could play with this whole oh, well, I'm using shed testing thing. And so you almost reach to a point where you're well, who's telling the truth and who's not? But at the end of the day, there are people out there who are paying for a certain morph and they're getting that snake, testing it, and it doesn't have that morph in it. Some breeders are taking care of it. Some breeders are putting their hands in the air saying, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? But I want to create awareness on how people cannot put themselves in a bad position, not only purchasing wise, but even as a seller, because isn't it? Let me ask you something, Justin. How easy is it for somebody to come in, paint a picture that I'm a high-end, ball python breeder, but then when you have a track history of putting mis-ID'd stuff on your ads, people don't they don't ignore stuff like that. I feel like after a while, people not only pay attention to that, but they all talk to each other, and then your image is almost kind of there's blemishes on it right off the bat, And so I kind of want to talk about all that as well.
Yeah, it's a problem. And part of what we're seeing too is that basically the sins of the past being exposed by shed testing. Animals that were sold pre-availability of the shed tests, and now, I've personally refunded at least one, if not two customers now on animals that, we sold before the lace test came out, and I sold them as babies, and as they grew, it became obvious they weren't. And then shed testing proved it. That's, to me, that's par for the course. But what scares me is there's a lot of people out there who aren't using it at all, even with the availability of it. Like they just think they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And to an extent, they're right, but they're really it's not gonna last forever, They're gonna eventually be left behind by the really solid sellers who not only know what's in their own animals, but their customers know that they can buy with confidence, right? It's kind of like the green check mark on MORPH market. You could, to whatever extent that works, a person comes in and says, hey, if I see two sellers and I see one of them has been, I have at least some financial coverage if I buy from the green check mark guy, right?
Yeah.
Versus the other guy, it doesn't matter if they're both good guys. One is more believable because they've done whatever it takes to get that, right? It's the same with people who shed test. Like, yeah, your animals may look similar, but this guy, for the same price, it has lace, it has yellow belly, it has inchy, you can take it to the bank. Now, if you're lying about that's where we need to work together to really expose that. Lying about shed testing is as bad as lying about hets, fake hets. It's just as bad.
Yeah. And then what do you, I don't know, before we move on, what do you have to say to that, Emilio?
I feel like the inexperienced and the experienced should be shed testing. I feel like there's a lot of wishful IDing out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lazy IDing out there. People should be studying paint jobs, animals that have more than 2 or 3 genes. Do the work, Yeah. Do the work, shed test. It takes time, but you have to do it. There's no excuse. You're going to get, just like Justin said, you're going to be left behind. It's a very competitive market. If you are not taking care of your customers, someone else will. And if you misid an animal, you're going to have to refund a partial refund or take the animal back.
Right.
No one wants to take your customers, but do it for you. Honestly, we've spent over $200,000 in shed testing since I started working with RGI. That's money paid to them. We own no part of RGI, like no equity. It's just me buying shed tests like anybody else. A lot of that has been my own collection because I waste a lot of money making a mistake. I think something is something, and I never would have bred it if I knew what it actually was, right? Yeah. Or I never would have bred it to that animal if I knew exactly what it was, right? I didn't want iris. I didn't want you name it. It is so important to know what you do. And if you know what's in your snakes, then you have a much better chance of knowing what's in their offspring, right? Because you're always working backwards. Not just that, there's the bellwether animals. Like I say, so much of what our IDing has historically has been a process of deductive reasoning. We say, okay, this snake, I'm sure that's this. So that snake looks a little brighter. It must have fire. And that snake looks a little bit, has more checker on the belly. It must be yellow belly, right? We're just using deductive reasoning to do the best we could. But the problem is that we never really knew what was in that one snake that we're using as the reference for the other two, right? And so many animals, I'm shed testing them now because I was like, I need to know what's in this animal because when I make the next clutch, I'm going to need to be able to reference this as a for sure and say, okay, that must be this, that must be this. And I'll shed test those too. Like, again, it's the cost of doing business. There's high margins on the high end of this business. And is well worth it. Yeah, it's going to bring down the margins a little bit. It's so worth it long term.
And
yeah, I mean, on a side of saving time, but not only that, saving the headache from having to refund anyone, just doesn't make sense not to sell something where you could have something to back it up. What are you gonna say, Emilio?
No, that you also lose a customer more than likely, right?
Oh yeah, done. No, because me personally, I don't want to deal with that. Like if I and I hear frustration from people where I'm like, dude, this person's never going to get business from this guy ever again. Like,
and then just like Justin said, you know, you want to ensure you're raising an animal that has exactly what you want in it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have what you don't want in it. So I don't understand people not shed testing and, you know, doing their due diligence and taking, you know, crossing out every box when it comes to business.
Yeah.
We are going super fast. Don't be left behind. I mean, I don't get it, you know? But,
yeah. And that's why it's like the shed testing is it's a good thing, but it's also for the, you know, the people who are just kind of like, you know, kicking rocks and just not worrying about being on top of things. Like they're the ones that are going to be like left on the wayside because like it's getting faster and faster and faster. And there's people like yourself, Justin, who take shed testing so seriously where it's like, there's no blemish. There's no gray areas. Like it's like, you're getting something where for whatever reason, if it's not, which like you said, you've only had to do 1 or 2 refunds. You said out of how many sales?
Well, I'm more conservative than most people with my IDing, so I think it's been worse for other people. But there has been. I'm not perfect by any means. So
no,
yeah.
And also one thing, I forgot what the message really said, but we put a story out that this episode was happening, and somebody said that like you're not even you are safe from mis-IDing things, like and it happens to even yourself. You got to imagine the amount of snakes that you produce, Justin. I mean, you yourself have definitely mis-ID things before, correct?
Yeah, well, especially on the bleeding edge, you know, on the stuff where it's really on the edge of what I know, and which is every year there's a new edge, right? And it used to be that I had to literally grow up an animal and breed it to find out if I was right so that I could correctly ID the stuff that happened, you know, hatched a year ago. Now we can actually find out in real time what things are, which is just massively helps the whole process. It's huge.
Yeah. And you know, kind of to touch on this as well, you know, is there a possibility or is there a recommendation? This is a question for both of you guys, obviously, but you know, obviously there's shed testing with RGI and then there's shed testing with Charlie, which with his shed testing company. Do you use both to make sure that one or the other is giving you an accurate test results? Because I mean, this is science. Science isn't always 100% correct. I think it's a high percentage chance that the test result is accurate, but I have seen stuff firsthand come back and I'm looking at the snake and the test results and I'm like, this doesn't make sense at all. Like, how the hell is this just a DG clown? And I could see a whole bunch of other stuff going on in this snake. And this is one of Sebastian's snakes. So just to tell you the example, I was, you know, you obviously, you know, I flew over there and we were kind of talking about shed testing and he was showing me some snakes, Justin, that came back with only said morphs. And we're looking at the snake like, what's like, so in that case, what does somebody do? Like, what do they do then?
You know, I've done more shed tests than maybe anyone as far as a single person doing it. And I've really not found that to be the case, except for in some real weird edge cases. Like we'll have a weird paradox animal that's not coming back, you know, but it's paradox, right? It's odd. It's throwing weird results. Honestly, the couple of mistakes that I know of were made by me. They were made by switching a label on an envelope or something like that. And when I recollect the shed and send in a shed again, it comes back correctly. That's part of, you know, what we teach a lot. And Emilio, you know, because you were there for our like MORPH ID classes, how systematic we have created the process of collecting the shed. You literally put it in an envelope, tape it to the tub. It does not leave the tub unless it has the label on it. The label is matched with the label. It comes off the circle. There's no, it's just too much risk involved with mixing anything up. And honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot because what's keeping people from shed testing more often? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I think a lot of people have been doing this a long time and they just don't want to create a new system within their way of doing things, right? Because to shed test well, you really need to collect, you know, quite a few sheds, first of all.
Yeah.
Often from the same clutch. You know, what we do is we collect the very first shed. So babies come out, instead of like historically leaving them all together, we separate every single one, put an ID number on every single one, collect the shed envelope, tape it up, just everything by the book. It takes time. It's a little frustrating, but it's systematic. I think a lot of people have just done things for the last 10, 15, 20 years, just like I have.
Yeah.
And they just don't really necessarily want to change, or they don't have time if they still have a full-time job. And I think a lot of it's that, we find that too with, using some sort of system like Clutch or Husbandry Pro or any, a lot of these guys are using nothing. They're still writing on the top.
What about people who refuse to use Instagram for so many years that were just on Facebook?
Well, yeah.
Remember all those people?
Well, they're gone is what happens, right? Where are they is the question, right?
But you're right. Like just the idea of having
on. Things change. Businesses have to change, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because what's happening is ultimately necessarily a great thing. Your competition will change and customers will expect it.
Yeah.
And then you're left out, right? And from my position in the industry, if I don't change, there's people gunning for me every day. I have to be really on top of the changes. But everyone else could do it too. It just takes a lot of work.
Dr. Ben, I had a long conversation with him. We rode together to the baseball game. He simply put, is 99%. Think about that for a minute. 99%.
It's 1 out of 100. It's not that many. I mean,
bro, 99%. I mean, what else do we need?
Yeah.
We should do a 66% was our best chance.
Yeah. If there's a glaring deficiency in a shed, they would definitely rerun it for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too, right? Like if there is a test result and you're scratching your head, RGI will let you send in another test, and because they want to know, well, fuck, is that on us or is that on you? And that's the beauty about RGI is, if you reach out, and here's the thing, a lot of people, Justin, who I've been noticing that are complaining, don't even reach out to RGI if there is an issue with the test.
To the internet. Yeah.
No, they go straight to the group chats. They go straight to whatever. But I'm like, dude, because when I see stuff like this, I do talk to Ben and I talk to Sean, and they're like, we don't no one's hitting us up. We don't know. And if they do, we offer a free test right off the bat, and we let them know what that result is. And that's the thing. That's why I'm like, well, what's the issue? You know what I'm saying? You have a company that's willing to make it right. So,
people are the issue. People suck sometimes.
But it's totally right what you said. If you want to take the shed testing seriously, it's a whole process you have to add into the mix of everything else. And a lot of people don't do this full time. A lot of people do have other stuff going on in their lives where they're probably stretched thin already as it is. So to think about collecting a bunch of sheds and having to turn them in with the possibility of them paying for something that's going to come back not het, some people rather not even take a loss at all, period. Which to me, I'm like, dude, you're going to get rid of a snake that you don't have to worry about feeding first and foremost. Because Emilio, what'd you say about it takes how long? How much money are you spending to get a ball python from hatchling to adulthood?
Depending on if you're doing it yourself, raising the rodents yourself, there's a bunch of little variables, right?
Right.
But the other day I had one of my V unit members, going at the dinker thing, and I kind of had to hit him with the fact that it could cost you anywhere from $400 to $600 to $700 to raise a female, right? Why aren't we testing to make sure you want to raise the animal and breed the animal? That was my point to him. People
don't even watch their bank account sometimes. They don't even log in to see their bank account. It's the same thing with their snakes. They're not doing the work to make sure that they're making good decisions, right?
Yeah, we're complaining about a $40 test.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, again, this is all for the kind of, there has to be a median amount of value for it really to make sense, right? In the hatchling. And I can't say what that's going to be for anyone else, right? But I do know for me, I do hear that a lot. It's like, well, I don't want to send in a test just to find out that it's not het, and then I have to sell it for less.
Yeah.
Right. So then I'm out, the $50, $40 or whatever. We know it's not het, and then I have to sell it for even cheaper than I was going to. But here's what I found. And I found that animals that are tested sell faster if they prove het, and they sell faster if they don't prove het. Right. So for example, you may have a clown, 66% head hypo. You know, if he comes back and proves het, then you've gained, you know, and now it's 100% hypo, you've gained $150 on your $50 investment. Okay, great. If it doesn't prove head hypo, you've spent $50, right? But it usually sells much faster because you can just price it on the money and you don't have to wait for that person who wants to come take a chance on a pos het. The pos het chance people are few and far between these days. Most people want to spend up or spend down. It's the pos hets. I think they're just getting really hard to sell. So in a way, I actually think you might even come out ahead by moving that animal at an opportune time versus feeding it for 8 months and hoping a buyer comes along as a pos het.
I can tell you both that I have a bunch of Mojave and special head Xanthics, pos het monsoon, head ultra, all these really good animals that I'm going to start testing in the next week or so. I just sold one to one of my people, a male that tested, 98% het when Charlie was doing that. I didn't bother trying to sell any pos hets. I just don't see that happening. It's a past.
If it's pos het tornado, maybe, right? But that's got to be really cutting edge. It's got to be really cutting edge.
It has to be something, worth
for the pos,
the risk, the big time risk that, something like tornado. Come on. Hell yeah.
Hey, something like tornado is crazy, Justin. I got to see video clips from, Emilio's visit. The vlog is doing awesome, by the way. So good job on that, Emilio. But man, tornado, exciting stuff, dude.
Really cool. We're excited about it.
What else did you put out there on that? The Jaguar. Oh my God.
Jaguar. That's so under the radar right now. It's like Red Stripe before the Pompeii or Spinos before the Batman. That's what Jaguar is at right now. It's just nobody really cares, and they really should.
Oh my God. I mean, you're gonna have no choice at some point. I mean, I feel like if you already see some of the stuff that you're putting out there now, like it's.
Well, people always say, Justin, why didn't you tell us what the next big thing is? It's like, I always tell, and no one ever listens. It doesn't matter. Jaguar, next big thing. You watch. Nothing will change. Not until the crazy combo is made and everybody gets FOMO. Doesn't matter what I say until that moment.
Yeah.
Right. It's good.
I like that Jaguar clown. That Jaguar confusion clown was really cool.
That one's really unique. That one needs to be black and white, doesn't it? Though it's like tiger stripes. Oh, yeah. So crazy.
Really cool.
So I'm sure there's Jaguar, like Mario, there's Tornado. These are morphs that cannot be tested for yet, correct? Because they're still under work. So and there's quite a few of these that you're working with, Justin. So what are you doing to try to help speed that process? Are you just collecting a bunch of sheds from them, or what needs to be done to speed the process to get a test through RGI for stuff like that? How's that work?
Well, I'll claim a little bit of ignorance on that. I've not had a lot of conversations with them about tests for those things. I would say that on the kind of stuff that's not heavily accepted yet, not really common, I think it's not necessarily in their best interest to spend a lot of time creating a test for something that not very many people are actually going to send in and pay for testing for, right? Yeah. Like, for example, if they had a Jaguar test today, I think Jaguar sheds would trickle in, right? Compared to if they had, I don't know, some tests that everybody has that morph, and there's a lot of them. It's a cost analysis for them. It does cost money to create the test. So I think that's the biggest challenge. I think I probably have enough sheds to send them, but they'd be like, yeah, we're going to go after some lower hanging fruit first.
Okay, so stuff that's more already regularly out there is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, but it's a matter of time though, because the more of this stuff people get their hands on, then that's how it happens, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they don't have a market, honestly. Yeah.
What we need is Mandarin. Mandarin would be crazy good to have. I would love that one myself right now. And I think they're working on it. I think that one. I think there's enough of them out there. They're heavily incentivized to get that test if they can get it. But I think the challenge is the samples they're getting may or may not be Mandarin, may or may not be supers. The labels what they're labeled as may not be. They kind of navigate through a bunch of bad data essentially almost to get the good stuff.
So why don't we talk about your process behind shed collecting? Like, is that something Chase does, or do you guys all do it, or like how does it work when a baby's born? Like, what's the protocol from there?
Group effort between me and Rob.
Shout out to Rob. I love Rob, man.
Shout out to Rob. Yeah. So we now separate every baby we don't prejudge whether or not we're going to shed test anything, because it's so hard to tell right out of the egg what's going on. You need to kind of analyze everything. So initially they come out of the egg. Rob sets everyone up in its own tub with a wet paper towel, right? Not too wet, because you don't want that shed getting soaked, but you want it to be, have a clean shed, right?
Right.
And essentially, we just wait for that first shed. We collect the very first shed. We hang it over the edge of the tub so we get a nice dry piece, right? The next step is Rob will come in. He'll see all the sheds for that clutch are done, and he'll put each one in an envelope, one at a time. Never two sheds. We have all these rules. Never two sheds out at the same time. So one shed, one envelope. You tape it to the tub. Next shed, next envelope, tape it to the tub. So at the end, every tub in the clutch has a little, I buy them on Amazon. They're like business card sized envelopes. They're perfect for this.
Okay.
Then a couple of days later, I'll show up with my laptop and I'll put them all in the clutch, right? And I'll go through like, oh, okay. I'll ID them the best I can based on the animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll put the label on the tub and a label on that envelope while they're still connected. And I'll go through, okay, what do I not know about this snake? What am I not sure about? What will I not, base my whole life on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just circle it with a blue pen right there on the clutch label that's on the envelope. So I'll just circle the genes. I want you to test for yellow belly, hypo, clown. Obviously, hopefully you can tell it's a clown, but if it's a posset, you couldn't. And sometimes, honestly, on a really high-end snake, I'll be like, you know what? I want to identify every one of these. I see them.
Yeah.
I know the customer may not be as savvy as me, and they're going to see all those check marks on the clutch record, and they'll be like, this is a no-brainer. I can trust this guy. Versus the same thing, snake looks the same.
Yeah.
You didn't do the testing, right? And there has to be kind of a certain caliber of, I think, value that you want to just like throw money at it and shed test for things are there. Right. But it's all a calculation. In the end, it's all a calculation. Some animals will be like, that one's going to the pet shop. I'm not going to shed test it. That one I'm going to keep. I definitely want to shed test that one because I don't want to screw myself. So it's that process. Take them all, put them into clutch, send them to RGI or Charlie if it's for lace or something. And with RGI, the great thing is they put the results back in on their end, and they have a clutch portal essentially. Put all the results in, and it just literally comes in and it changes the IDs of my snakes to the verified genes with a little check mark. And we actually put in a little extra level of kind of analysis to that, where if it's been, if a gene has been guaranteed in there, you can't, you can delete it, but you can't put it back in there if it's been shown to not be there. So if it proves that it's not clown, you can't go back in there and say, oh, this animal, it actually is clown. It won't accept it back in there because it's just allowing a little bit of actual verification from a bad actor, essentially.
Wow.
Now, if you think the result's wrong, you can get back with RGI and they can make changes to the system. But
once that's set in stone with RGI, it's set in stone, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they have to change it. I can't even change my own. I have to call them.
So MJ, Friday night, right? We were going in and we were gonna feed some hatchlings, and I see Justin. He's like in the app, and he's like, bloop. He's scanning it, right? He's like, yes.
It's like Christmas when you get results.
Yes.
Oh,
no shit. It's like Christmas.
Years to find out. Yeah, I love that. It is like Christmas. It's like Christmas. It's when I get shed test back. Whatever I'm doing, if I'm like on a date with my wife or something, I start getting these emails from RGI saying results are in clutch. Yeah. Oh my goodness. The conversations are over at that point. I'm here physically, but not mentally. I want to get home and see, like, get to my computer. I can check it on my phone, but I try to look at my phone. Yeah. It is like Christmas because you make so much money, right? Yeah. You'll lose a few. But there's a couple key animals that just make it like, oh, that was exactly what I needed. And it's just so, what's so great about this industry, and sorry, I was talking a lot, but man, what's so great about this industry is that there's all these amazing touch points. And I think I may have talked about this when you were here. There's just that moment when you buy the snake, there's the moment when you feed it, and every time it slams a rat, there's the moment you see it lock up for the very first time. Yeah. And when you see a snake lock up, you're just sure that you're going to hit, all your dreams are going to come true. Like, there's no chance you're going to fail at that point, right? You get the eggs, you candle them, you cut them. A little moment, like it's like shaking your present on Christmas morning, like see if you can tell what it is. You cut them. Then the snake comes out. Yeah. Oh, I need it to be a boy. It's a boy, right? Yeah. And then you're like, ooh, but it's this, and this. But if it's het tornado, then my life is over. It's too good. And you set up that shed test and you get the email back. Results are in. Oh my goodness. It's another touch point, right? And that's what's so great about this industry. That's why I was so dang addicted to it. That
excitement never ends. It bleeds into the next snake. And mind you, you're talking the excitement over one snake, and when you finally get the hatchlings from that snake, all that excitement goes into the next one. You know what I'm saying? And in a sense, you're never done. Like you're never not excited.
Well, if you get a collection like mine, you have managed to find a huge dopamine hit every day of the year, pretty much.
Yeah. And which to me, like I always said, reminds me of being a kid. It makes you feel like a child. Like you understand, grown ass men like us don't get as excited as much as we do. You know what I'm saying? Because of dude, this is stuff we loved as kids, like snakes. Like we're literally geeking out over something we would geek out if we were in grade school. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's the most important part. That's what's going to always keep it young inside, you know?
By the way, that story, that was 9:30 p.m. on a Friday night. This man's still out working, a lot of you guys. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And second, what I wanted to bring also to the clutch conversation, cutting clutches and whatnot. And then later we'll talk about clutch. Clutch is amazing.
Yeah.
I set it up. I love it.
So cool.
Can't wait to use it for the shed testing. But man, we also, we hit, we have a shot at this combo in this egg. And then I sexed the animal right out of the egg. So I'm like, okay, this one's a male. That one's a male. All right, the odds are the next few will be females. And then I'm like, okay, I'm at 2.2. I got to win the next two. Man, because we need girls too, right? For these quads and these triples and these, we need girls. So at the same time, we're thinking, okay, sex ratio. So it's so much fun,
There's so much to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen. So at the end of the day, Justin, are you getting a lot of your own customers just basically asking you how to, work around the shed testing thing? Are you coaching a lot of people when it comes to it? You feel like, or you're not hearing too much as far as needing help when it comes to the shed testing side of things for mainly new keepers?
I don't hear a lot about it. I think most new keepers, kind of avoid doing it for a while. They don't want to shed test animals they bought. They just want to assume they're right, which is risky, but hopefully that's the case. Hopefully they're fine. It's usually when people start hatching things, they start to think, oh, okay, well, I don't want to rip anybody off. I need to know what's in them. And that's sometimes when they find out that their breeders aren't what they thought either at that point. But we put all this on our Patreon, as far as like how to step by step. We do videos of how to, the Kinova universities and all that. And hopefully it's paying off for people.
Yeah, we just had AG on, AG from Toehold, Miguel's friend. Quite the guy. He
shed tests everything I think that he gets.
Oh, for sure. He's upset.
That's the timid animal. He shed tested for every gene that I had already shed tested it for.
He even shed tests for something. He even shed tests for something that he already knows what it is, just so he could get that little star next to the name. He says.
Right. He's the first I've heard that does that, but good for him.
I mean, because he does have a point. It is appealing. Like, I mean, people like gold stars, and they're like, okay, that looks
too. I do too. On like, if I get a really special animal, I'm like, I want a star on every single one of those. For a particular animal.
Yeah. I don't even know what I was gonna say. I was gonna bring something up that he said. But anyways, he's somebody who doesn't play around. Being new in his position, he's taking full advantage of the shed testing right now. And he's noticing that like the extra one thing, and we talk about this all the time. It's like, if you're new into this, do all the extra legwork that you could possibly can, because it's just going to immediately separate you from anyone else that's coming in around the same time as you. Because exactly like you said, Justin, not a lot of people in the beginning are carrying a shed test because it's just the beginning for them. And they don't think it's maybe that important, where we all know time flies and it is important. And the quicker and the more dialed in you become when you get in, the better it's going to be for yourself. And I feel like he gets that, and that's what he's already doing.
No, that's huge. You know, like we talked about earlier, I think for a lot of people, it's just hard to add a new system. It's easier to just do it from the beginning a certain way. Like say, hey, what should I do? Should I be shed testing, you know, some of these breeder animals I'm getting in? Should I be making sure that I wasn't screwed? That's just a good system. And if you can do it early, then when you have babies, you're old, you know, it's nothing to you. You know exactly what to do. It's super simple. Plus you can do, you know, scale clippings. You can send in sperm plugs. You can send a piece of the eggshell from the actual baby. There's a lot of ways to do it. It's not just one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing I just reminded myself that I wanted to bring up, you know, we were talking about one level of shed testing where people are either purchasing a snake and, you know, hoping it has that morph that's being labeled as the morph on the ad, but then not coming back as it. What if this is a situation? Let's say I sell you a DG Clown Orange Dream, right, Justin? And then you get that snake from me. You pair it to a female that is a Desert Ghost Fire, let's just say, right? You pair those two snakes and you get a bunch of super fires. And then it turns out that the snake I sold you actually has fire in it.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time. But what should the breeder have to make up for anything in that point?
So that's really tough. That's really tough. And we do deal with that, you know, because we sell investment snakes for the most part.
Yeah.
And when we are wrong, which is not very often, but when we are wrong, not if, when, it hurts the customer because it was an investment, right?
Yeah, sure.
More than just the disappointment of, I wish I had OD, you know, or whatever, you know. So our policy, and we just did a whole video at this on our Patreon as well. I've been on both sides of that coin. I have bought an animal, supposedly had a gene, bred it to like everything because I was so dialed in on getting that gene, only to find out it didn't have it. Like, and just lost. I mean, it's impossible to quantify, right? Because you don't know what the odds would have been, right?
Yeah.
But easily hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, lost between 1 year to find out crap. When they start hatching, I'm like, oh no, this doesn't have it. But all these girls are already gravid. I'm screwed. You know, I've been. So when a customer comes to me and says, Justin, I needed that snake to have this. I was counting on this and it didn't. I have a policy of I will refund you exactly what you paid, not what it's worth now, but what you paid back then. However, that's the policy. The reality is that if you really took it on the nose, I'm really going to try to go overboard and go way beyond that if I can.
Yeah.
I'm just in a position where I can. A lot of sellers aren't, you know, they're not making great money, but that money's already long spent. Even the refund will be tough.
Yeah.
There's no solid answer because everybody's pain is going to be different. How much they went in on it, how much the babies would have been worth. There's just a million little calculations there. You can't arrive at a single answer.
Yeah,
and the customer is. Oh, first of all, the customer is not always right? But in the end, if you can resolve it to where the customer says, you know what, he's a stand-up guy, I would do this with him again. That's where you know you've found the baseline.
I just know as a seller, if there's any uncertainty, you got to take care of it right off the bat. Like if you're yourself in your gut, you're like, damn, like I don't know if like maybe that isn't right, or if there's any of that, like as a business owner and as taking care of your customers. And mind you, right, there's obviously like you got to look at the whole scheme of things, like, you know, but at the end of the day, all you want is that customer to keep buying from you. You know what I'm saying? And nothing makes the customer happy.
You know, your reputation is everything. So even if they don't buy from you, you hope they at least say, "Hey, I wouldn't buy from Justin, but he did
take care of me."
You know,
and that's honestly, Justin. That's all I've ever heard about any situation with you is you just take care of things if there ever is one. You know,
I'd rather be overly generous if I can. You know,
go Emilio.
We spoke of this a little bit a couple weekends ago, and I can tell you I do the same thing because it also gets my mind at ease.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Because making those mistakes really bother us as business owners.
Mm-hmm.
We really care. So that's something me and Justin we spoke about.
Did you know that you can buy insurance for it?
What do you mean?
You can insure yourself against customers coming back like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, by shed testing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no excuse.
Shed testing your babies, but more importantly, and at least equally important, shed testing your adults. If you don't know what's in your adults, you're gonna screw up. You won't even know what genes to shed test your babies for if you don't know what's in your adults. You have to have a rock solid foundation. Now, a lot of people know, they think they know. I thought I know my adults. I found all kinds of stuff I was wrong about in my adults.
So let's go back to people being dishonest. Emilio, how many ads have you seen, Emilio, where people are purposely not putting that morph in, even though they know, like we all know that's pastel, and you're for whatever reason you're not putting that in the ad. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the exact morph, Emilio, but you mentioned it in the chats once that like people are avoiding putting all the genes in the ad, like they're leaving them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes you'll have someone purposely leave something out of the ad to at least get a person to click in, or not allow the animal to get filtered out. There's a lot of shady
people
shit.
using negative filters, like don't show me anything with these genes.
Yeah, there's
Man,
man, I got buddies that use that filter all the time.
Really?
Brock Morphinary Arts.
I mean, you got people that won't even touch a snake if it has a certain morph in it, and respectfully, because their projects don't need that morph. They don't want nothing to do with it, And pastel's probably the biggest.
Look over them, but I guess you can filter them out too.
Yeah.
So you got guys that do that. You got people now that purposely leave a gene out and then might put it in the description. I mean, I've seen all types of shit, man.
There's lots of games people play in the descriptions of their snakes and in the titles of their snakes. I don't know. To me, it's so unprofessional to like first title things in ways that are misleading, or in ways that are, we all know the conventions. I hope we all know the conventions of how things ought to be said. You don't say het clown, pastel G stripe, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You put the hets last, and some people's like you don't even know how to title your ad in a way that is readable to people who are in this industry. I don't know if it's laziness or if it's on purpose, to be honest with you, but it doesn't look good.
Or stupidity, no offense, but there's some people out there. It's just like it's just not the dots aren't connecting mentally, and it's like, oh my god, and also big portion of it is laziness for sure. It's just not
like half off in the description.
Yeah,
so people know that their price isn't real. Like, that's just so shady. I don't know.
They're not doing the work, and then you have some that don't retain information. Sadly, it is what it is. And then you have people that are just purposely, doing it. So,
but like I said, in a day of age of like today, like those people just don't make it, like because they're on a spotlight in not a good way. You know what I mean? And eventually, people are just not going to.
We can bitch about it all day. The reality is that nature has a way of being, and they're not going to make it. It'll eat your own eventually. So,
yeah, and also just to kind of end the topic of like selling something not knowing what's in it. I mean, we're in a day where those days are over. Like if you're
unless they're pets, people do it all the time with pets. You know what? I guess no harm, no foul if they like how it looks.
Yeah,
but.
True.
But on the investment side, it'll bite you. It eventually will take you out.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess on that topic, real quick, Justin, like, how important is the pet side of things to you even today? Like, I know you have certain snakes that are already meant for the pet industry side of things, but like, is that an important demographic for you when it comes to breeding ball pythons instead of just the high end stuff, or is it just all high end stuff? Like, I'm curious.
I mean, I never ever try to make a pet snake ever.
Okay.
They're just the margins are nothing. You might as well. I think you may lose money in the current market at least. So no, I mean we cannot not make pet snakes because of the way the odds work. Right, you're going to get a distribution range, right? Like a bell curve for your best snakes, and you're always going to get the ends of the bell curve, and not so good, right? Yeah. So yeah, you're going to make pets for snakes, and that's a very important part of the market because it's the pet stores, it's the pets that drive every dollar that moves through our entire industry. in the end, there's like a collector market, right? This is a collector market essentially. If there is not a large base of people enjoying the collectible thing, then we're all like shifting money between each other, right? In the end, it's that base that allows people to say, hey, if I buy this snake, I can make a lot of them, and there will be people who want to buy them from me. And those people will make more, and they'll want to buy them. And it keeps going all the way down to the pet. Once it gets to the pet store, it kind of hits a zone where it's like, hey, nothing's worth more than, $20 or $30 or $50 or whatever. But without that, we're nothing. And I honestly believe that's what's killed us in the last couple of years has been in the inflation post-COVID has just killed most people, most of the average rank and file Americans' budgets. And they did two things. They bought extra pets during COVID. And so their need for pets went away. They satisfied their need during COVID for pets. And then after COVID, when inflation came in and the government stopped sending checks out, suddenly their budgets were squeezed. And the idea of adding yet another pet went out the window. And when that kind of dried up, then we were really just kind of like all just making little moves up here at the upper part of the, I'm gonna keep going, I guess, the pyramid. Yeah. The cylinder, right? So the cone.
The cone.
But no, that's the truth though. It's without the pet market, that is what the whole thing is predicated on. And all it takes is for the general economic situation to change for the average American. That in the end is all that matters for our market as well. It changes everything.
But it's so true what you said, man. Like, once that financial squeeze started, vicing on that individual, guess what else didn't help? All the prices going up with the rodents and everything else, like just the inflation everywhere else on top of you financially struggling. And that's why it's like, I don't say we joke about it, but it's like, another one bite the dust. I feel like when we see someone posting their racks for sale, but we also don't know the whole situation of things. I just feel like some of these people, man, they were just so misled. And but also, regardless of being misled, you got to figure this shit out on your own, and you got to make sure that you're doing this for you, and you legit love these animals, nothing else. Like, as long as the love for the animal is number one, there's no really bad time in this. You know what I'm saying?
What's the saying? 9 out of every 10 businesses fail, right, in the first 5 years, and the 9 out of 10 of those fail in the next 5. That's not the reptile industry.
No,
we may actually have a better number than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's just the average. And so if we lose 8 out of 10, in 10 years, then I think honestly, because there's a love for it among a lot of us, we actually have a better chance of making it compared to any other business.
Have anyone reached out to you, Justin? Any of these people that have checked out? Because I gotta say, there's names out there where I'm like, oh wow, like you're one of them, okay. And I'm wondering if anyone has come to you like asking you, should I leave? Should I not? Just being the person you are in the ball python game. Does anyone ever reach out to you, let them know that they're wanting to leave, or they just, I'm just curious.
They reach out to me after they've made the decision.
That's weird. And what do they say? What do they want? What do they want?
Well, they either want me to buy the collection.
Oh, okay. They're like, hey,
tell me. They just want to explain. Hey, I bought these stakes from you, and I want you to know, hey, here's circumstances why I'm leaving. There's kind people, who want to, to an extent, I think it's a personal choice, and what I say to somebody is not going to make them want to stay in for an extra 5 years if they're really struggling.
Yeah.
But also, I think people are, honestly, think about how this industry works. We're all kind of a network of people who love snakes. We're all trying to do a similar thing. If you're not making it and things are going rough, even if it's not because of the market, you maybe just your marriage is on the rocks and your wife hates snakes. That happens all the time. All the time. Yeah,
life gets rocky for sure.
Yeah, stuff happens, right? Or maybe you get all the time. I get customers who get a job offer. Hey, I got to move overseas, or I'm join corporate America. And I'm not going to have time. Whatever, things change. Usually, there's a little bit of a stigma with people saying, "Hey, I'm getting out, guys," because these are all people who you swore you'd never get out. You swore to them, in a moment of confidence. Oh, I love this. I would never get out. But then, things change. So
Yeah, we
the stigma.
all three of us have been blessed with really stable, great women.
That's number one.
Yes.
Number one factor.
Great
Stable
families.
household. Stable
Great
household.
families.
Mhm.
Not everyone has that.
No, dude. And that's another thing that can make it really difficult if your other half isn't on board with all this shit. And mind you too, like, people got families out there, and some families are going through shit. And so it's hard to be pulled away. Like for me, this is Oasis. Like I don't think of reality when I'm in this room. I'm just in here just doing my thing in my world, And so sometimes when I'm out there, dealing with stuff with either my family, my immediate family, or whatever, like sometimes I wish I could just get back into my snake room and not have to deal with it. So, but at the reality, like some people are dealing with some crazy shit out there in their life,
Yeah,
that's totally true.
And on top of that, we're focused on ourselves, getting our businesses better. We're not thinking about anyone else or anyone else's projects or anyone else's animals. We're all dialed in. I mean, that's another thing. I think people out there, they should be really focused on themselves and not others. It's hard. Life is hard. It's even harder to run a business and I'll tell you this, if you're constantly worrying about someone else or, catching up to this guy or catching up to that guy or having, envy in you, like, how are you going to get better?
Yeah. If we really think about how hard life could get, RGI testing's not that hard, guys. Let's just start testing. Really not.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
If they can do it on Mari, you can do it in your snake room.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if people did take this as serious as either one of you guys, a lot of this like unfortunate business with people paying for something that they're not getting would be out the window in a sense. Like it'll be happening less and less and less and less. You know what I'm saying? But mind you, like we were saying too, the ones who are using shed testing on a regular basis, those are the ones that are going to have a fatter chance sticking around for the next fucking 10 years,
Yeah, it'll come out, in the end, it'll come right.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to bring this up. I want to get your feedback from both of you guys. I want to say one of the biggest things topic wise, when it comes to morphs coming back, shed testing, that people aren't getting the results they're expecting is lace. I'm seeing a lot of people getting, they're buying a snake that has lace and it doesn't have lace. What are you hearing about that, Justin?
Well, first of all, a little bit of empathy. Lace is tough. It's really tough. I got into it sooner than almost anybody. I did not create lace, but I've been into it for many, many, many years. And lace is a subtle gene. It's beautiful in its own way, but it matures, right? And so to really do well with lace, you have to be willing to kind of let it mature a little bit, and really you have to really get a good eye for it. So again, no, like I'm not throwing shade on people who've mis-ID'd lace, because I have as well.
Yeah.
You just got to be patient with it. Now they have a shed test. Because we have a shed test, I send in every single lace, even the ones I know 1,000%, because people want to see. They know it's hard. They want to see that shed tested, guaranteed. Oh, by the confidence, right? I refunded, I think, like I said, 1 or 2 customers from a lace animal that I gotten wrong. But you know what? I'd so much rather refund them now than when they come to me and said, I made 28 clutches and none of them are lace. I want to know now. I want to know soon, right? So
what costs more than money is time, right? Like look, think about all the time they can't get that back, Yeah,
and they're never. The goodwill is much harder to get back if they've wasted breeding years, not just a little bit of growing years. So yeah, lace has been a transformational one. Again, we need all the ones like that, like Mandarin would be huge, Jaguar, some of these that are a little bit more subtle, they'd be the ones to have. And people are going to get called out, but you know what? It comes right. It's better to know now. It's like when you're going home to an angry spouse, like just tell me what you're angry about before I get home. I can prepare my speech,
Also, like even talking about, like somebody like you, Justin, who's not perfect, like this is only a matter of time for somebody to go through this themselves, and it's just part of the game. And and part of the game is having the business maturity side of things and taking care of it when you need to take care of it. Because guess what? It's checked off. You took care of it. It's done. It's not going to come back and haunt you. And we all know things will come back and haunt you in this game, right? I hear the stories everywhere. People don't forget, and guess what? People don't like to confront. They just like to talk about it and tell.
I wish they would confront. Yeah, I wish they would confront sometimes. People like to talk behind the scenes, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like I find out later. I'm like, wow, crap! I would have done a lot for you. I've just told me, you know.
Yeah.
But no, you're going to have some deals go bad. You know, as a business owner, really, your longevity will kind of center around your ability to mitigate risk, not perfectly, but better than the next guy, right? Yeah. Better than the next guy. Can you identify better than the next guy? Can you shed test better than the next guy? Can you take care of customers better than the next guy? And at the end, you just rise to the top, right? There's attrition in this industry. People leave. People do make bad decisions. People have bad things happen. All you got to do is be a little bit better. Constantly expect more of yourself. That's all it takes. It's not about perfection. It's about being better.
Let me jump in here with the lace. I'll tell you where I was 2.5 years ago, and I've been doing this 20 years. I decided to buy a white lace animal, yes, for the super impact, right? But also because I could see that lace would be a problem, and there was no shed testing. Now, there was no shed testing for the lace animal. Now there is. So me and Justin were talking, and I'm like, okay, he mentioned that I didn't need a white lace anymore. And I agree. So now shed testing also opened up to where I could get probably something with more power in the animal and maybe have one copy of lace.
It lowered the barrier to entry a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah. So I might not need the super anymore. So I'm very happy that the lace test is there. I'm happy that the monsoon test is there. It's great stuff,
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm actually I have the potential of hitting my very first white lace cypress clown combos.
Killer.
Nice.
So
hopefully, I've only ever hit one of those ever. It was like 3 years ago, and I have not managed to get one since. I'd love to see it.
And also, then it would also be posset hypo.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited. Listen, like I said, there's numerous things to be excited about when it comes to a lot of the, even lace, like lace in general. I'll never forget the first time I saw lace was at your collection, white lace. And I didn't think there was anything better looking than a DG clown at that time. And then when I saw white lace, I was like, oh, wow, that's insane. And then we saw what white lace does to DG, and it's pretty impressive. You know what I'm saying? Here's a topic I want to talk to you about, Justin. Me and Emilio have talked. Obviously Emilio is one of his bread and butters is Xanthic. Like he's an EPI Xanthic guy, and so obviously with Xanthic, just like anything else, there are some things that could maybe make Xanthics not look as pretty always. You got to be careful. And I'm not talking about Sunset. I'm going to leave that alone right now. But DG Xanthics going yellow. What do you know about that? Like, what do you know about certain DG combos in Xanthic that makes that Xanthic with age go like a yellow tone? What's the deal with that?
To be honest with you, almost every Xanthic I have is Desert Ghost Xanthic Clown. Honestly, I was kind of late to the Xanthic game, and I just kind of went all out for that project. From what I've seen, which is a narrow band within my own collection, is Xanthics tend to yellow or brown, I guess. DG Xanthics, I think they're fine. I haven't had any problem with them. I mean, I have a couple of pastel DG Xanthics, and even they're not that yellow. Pastel actually works amazing with Desert Ghost Xanthic.
Well, to be fair, the DG Xanthic Clown stuff from the video that I just edited for
doesn't yellow at all. There's no yellow.
Zero yellow whatsoever.
I saw zero yellow.
Yeah,
right.
I came back super happy.
But Emilio, we've seen yellow. We've seen.
I have, but it could also be another trait in the animal.
Maybe I've just not seen it enough to know.
I mean, a pastel. I saw a pastel chocolate DG Xanthic. That thing was super yellow.
With pastel in it, the pastel made it yellow too.
Yeah, no, I think the chocolate added.
Oh, the chocolate
brown to it, and just
that was really yellow. But again, the things I had seen on the internet here and there, I was a little worried about some yellows. potentially, but I saw none of that. I'm super happy. Man, I'm super excited about the future with that project.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Every snake at the Patreon thing, every time I show a new combo, I'll be like, now think black and white. This is amazing. Like, this is amazing. I think DG Xanthic version of this with these tiger stripes, like some of that G-stripe confusion clown stuff. Like, think of this. See all those zebra stripes? Yeah, black and white, you know, and it's just years and years and years. And that's what makes me so excited. I know all those little dopamine hits are just waiting for me.
I'm Justin, I'm really excited about the Cosmos, about the Jaguar, the Tornado, all those dark granite genes that are coming. I think that's the future. I think that's the next 5 to 6 years, maybe 7, 8 years of the game.
It seems like it's headed that way. You know, we'll make Desert Ghost and brighter versions of all that, but like layering in a really solid, like melancholy, busy base is kind of where it's at right now. It feels like.
Yeah. And you still have a lot of white lace going into DG stuff, right, Justin? Is that the game plan with white lace?
Yeah, I'm not overly chasing that because white lace are already so bright and DGs are already so bright. I feel like you're working awfully hard for a very, very small percentage improvement, you know.
You're saying.
So I am making them. I try a lot of stuff and let it develop. I'm often wrong, and I don't want to just not try something.
Right.
But it's not something I'm chasing hard.
Now I'm going to ask you this because I don't have the experience, but from your experience, if you were to take a super dark, so a super incomplete dominant, which is like let's say a real dark super into a white lace, what would happen? Like when you put super dark to a white lace overall, what would happen? You would say?
Well, I just made a mahogany confusion white lace, which is really, really dark, and I would say it. I could probably. You want me to share my screen and show it to you?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Love to see that.
I want to see it.
Hold on,
because we haven't seen much of that.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Go ahead.
To be honest with you, I had to shed test it because I wasn't sure that's what it was, which maybe doesn't bode well for the combo in general. So,
cool. So I didn't know as the guest you guys could share your screen. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, me though, because you're on your phone, right? So that's probably why you didn't know that you can do that. But holy shit, I had no clue. That's cool.
Let's see. Mahogany confusion white lace.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Mahogany confusion white lace. Het clown. Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's that much going on, but there is. Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, now I can see it. There's a lot going on. Okay, yeah.
It's kind of void, but it's being, you know, the darkness is swallowing it up. You know, that belly's really busy. You should check my shed testing here. Negative for yellow belly. So I saw that belly and I thought, ooh, maybe it's single copy lace with yellow belly giving it the checkering, but negative for yellow belly. And then I sent it to Charlie and white lace right there. Came back as white lace.
That's exciting.
So
I would have thought with that belly, I would have maybe thought yellow belly for sure.
Yeah, well, me too. See, again, that's why you get it wrong. I would have sworn it was yellow belly lace. Sworn.
Yeah. Without shed,
if I was to sell it, I would have sold it as that.
But let's think about it. Without shed testing being around right now, let's just say there was no shed testing. I would have put yellow belly in the ad. I would have.
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
not knowingly. I would thought. Look, that's what I see. But you can't just go. You can't just go with what you see nowadays. It's just not. It doesn't work no more.
You have to be really good at doubting yourself to be good at this game. You know, you have to, because there's so much of you that wants it to be true that you have to actively fight against yourself and be like, yeah, but if I was wrong, how would I be wrong?
Yeah.
And then try to, like, you know, do like a steel man of why you could be wrong and try to prove the negative. That's the only way you can do it, really.
You'll literally psych yourself into believing what you want to believe. Like, it's crazy. Like,
a million times. It's only because I've been in this so long. I can't tell you how many times I went on the internet and proudly proclaimed something that was absolutely not true.
You're like, whoa,
and I still people do it all the time. Like Emilio, you were there when we hatched that, or we cut the deep pastel DG zebra. You know, I'm like 95% sure that's what it is. I'm not going to say a peep until it's shed tested with Charlie for zebra. Not a peep.
Did you already learned your lesson? Like what's?
I've run lesson so many times. Yeah,
You
know.
I mean, people with pitchforks will be right there waiting for that mistake. You know what I mean?
He made a mistake.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. But I'm the one. I'm my worst critic. No one can be more of a critic than me. So,
and that's how it should be. You know. All right, so we're gonna wrap things up. Emilio, anything you want to touch on before we call this an episode? I know obviously we really honed down on shed testing. I think we got a lot of that out of us tonight. But anything you want to close off with tonight, Emilio?
No, man. I think it was a very good episode. Guys, shed test, and no excuses. No one cares anyway. Okay.
Yeah, for real. You fuck up. No one gives a shit other than that you fucked up. Yeah. Facts. I'm sorry, Justin. Anything you like to close off with? Any closing statements? Anything you got to get off your chest, buddy? It's all yours.
Nothing off my chest. No. Appreciate you guys. This has been awesome. I'm very, very passionate about this industry, even 20 years later, and I love being on with you guys. You're both awesome dudes who are passionate right there with me. So
yeah, man, it's a fun time. It really is.
Yeah.
Huge.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. You know how I feel about both of you. I even before we met, the way we did Justin, I said this to you in your presence. I attribute you and Brian to me being able to reach my dream and do what I love full time. So that what else can I say?
That means a ton, man.
Yeah.
That means a ton. If other people can get to enjoy it like I've enjoyed it, and if I've been part of that, that's more than most people can ask for in a life. To be able to part something like that, that's amazing.
And I will say this also, from what I hear from a lot of other people, as far as like the type of person you are is the best person we could have to represent the ball python community. Because Justin, you're cool to everybody, man. And to think about how many other things out there that people are like the head of whatever it is, and they're just not cool. They're either assholes or they're arrogant or they're not as approachable. And you're none of those things, man. You've always, from the get-go, man, you've always been somebody where I couldn't believe you gave me the time of day. And ever since that day, you've been like my friend. So, and it's been awesome, man. It's been cool.
Yeah, we're all just people,
Really?
That's all it is. Yeah.
The other word I was using a lot was exemplary. So
yeah, definitely.
Just to let you know, man. All right.
I think I can spell that. So you're doing good. That's awesome.
Exemplary. I can't even say it. Damn it, dude. All right, guys. Kinova Reptiles on Instagram and join its Patreon for sure. I gotta tell you, if you really want to grow in this hobby, nothing has been more talked about than Justin's Patreon. So good job on that, Justin. Looking forward to bringing on the next one. And of course, Villarino Reptiles on Instagram. Go subscribe to the Instagram subscription on there as well. And I appreciate you boys. But it's a wrap for Justin and Big E Top G, ladies and gentlemen.
All right,
boys, have a good night. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk soon. Yeah, he's fired up. All right, have a good night, boys. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, thank you out there. Please, before you guys exit, make sure you get that like button smashed for the follow guest, man. This was a great episode. And of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be reminded of every single podcast out of the Trap Talk Reptile Network, 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. Okay. And before we let you guys go, please check out the sponsors. Appreciate all the love and support. And we'll catch you on the next one. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Devin.
I'm Teresa, and we are Pragmotors. We are based in Czech Republic, a small country in the middle of Europe.
We really love animals that revolve around multi-recessive projects, and one of our very favorites is Hypo. We're really looking forward to clutches that are coming this season, and some of those are Hypo Clown, DG Clown, Hypo DG Clown, and one of our all-time favorites, Hypo Puzzle.
Hope you enjoyed the next episode on Trap Talk, the greatest reptile network in the world.
If you guys want to see next level cutting edge ball python projects, please make sure you head over to their Instagram to follow all their amazing work and head over to their website to see what they could possibly have available by heading over to progmorphs.com. Thank you again, Devin and Teresa, for bringing some of the biggest heat worldwide in the ball python game. If you want to be organized, if you want to be cutting edge in the ball python game, then you don't want to miss this. Shout out to today's sponsor, and that's Clutch, #1 ball python organization app in the game. No better place to start off than by using this app. Clutch is an organization app that helps you organize all your ball python projects. It also helps your peers and your fellow community members look at what you possibly have coming for the upcoming ball python season, what you have currently available on MORPH Market. It's so awesome to be ahead of the game by using organization app like Clutch. Thank you so much, the entire Clutch team, amazing team over at Clutch. If I were you, I would head over to Clutch's Instagram account, and I would also head over to their website, try it out, see how it works for you. But especially if you're just now coming into this, before you build your reptile collection, I would do it organized, and I would do it with Clutch. Thank you, Clutch, for being so amazing. Excited to hear what Clutch has to bring in the near future. Cheers.